Just think about the sheer volume of talk happening in finance right now. Deals,
Yeah.
strategies, market chat. It's constant.
It really is. And all that voice communication, it's a huge challenge for firms trying to, stay compliant.
And spot potential trouble, right? Sifting through it manually, forget it.
Exactly. It's just not feasible, not scalable, not efficient at all.
Which brings us right to our deep dive today. We're looking at voice-to-text solutions,
Mhm.
and specifically how crucial they're becoming in fighting financial crime. Our guide here is the voice-to-text solutions FinCrime intelligence source.
Really insightful piece.
So for anyone maybe not totally familiar, what are we actually talking about, these voice-to-text tools?
Okay, so at its core, it's software. Software that takes spoken words,
Hmm.
speech, and turns it into written text.
Like dictation software or maybe voice assistants on our phones.
Yeah, those are examples.
Mm-hmm.
But here we're focusing on, let's say, more specialized versions built for compliance teams in finance. They're becoming, well, indispensable.
Right. And our mission, like always, is to get under the hood. Understand how this tech really helps those teams spot and stop financial misconduct based on what people are actually saying.
Let's do it.
Okay, so how does it work? How does just, converting speech to text help fight FinCrime?
Well, it has a pretty big impact in a few key ways,
Hmm.
especially in those heavily regulated sectors, banking, insurance, wealth management.
Where voice calls are constant.
Precisely. Voice to text lets firms monitor communications systematically, much more than before. And it's about spotting keywords, patterns, things in conversations that might signal illicit activity.
Okay, like what specifically? What kinds of red flags are these systems looking for according to the source?
The source mentions things like insider trading, market manipulation, money laundering, even bribery.
So practical examples.
Imagine, say, a system flags a sudden burst of calls between traders known to have inside info right before a big market event.
Okay.
Or maybe repeated weird instructions about wiring large sums to new offshore accounts. Stuff like that.
Gotcha. So instead of finding out later, maybe by chance, you've got this system kind of listening in, flagging smoke before there's a fire.
Exactly. It's much more proactive.
And the amount of audio you can suddenly analyze, that must be huge for e-discovery, legal discovery processes.
Oh, it's completely transformative. Think about it. A big investigation might involve terabytes of phone calls, meeting recordings.
Terabytes, huh?
Yeah. Reviewing that manually could take months, years even, millions of dollars.
Right.
Voice to text lets legal teams search all of that instantly for keywords, names, phrases. It slashes the time and cost. We're talking potentially 80% reduction sometime.
80%. That's staggering.
It lets investigators focus on the meaning of the flagged conversations, not just listening and typing.
And the source also mentioned case management improvements. It's not just finding stuff, but using it effectively.
That's right. Accurate transcripts, timestamp. They create a really solid record of who said what when.
Undisputable evidence.
Exactly. That becomes crucial evidence in internal probes or, regulatory actions. Less ambiguity means faster, more solid case resolutions.
It really feels like a shift from sort of reacting after the fact to actively hunting for issues almost as they happen.
That's the key. Proactive surveillance.
Yeah.
Identifying potential misconduct way earlier, before it blows up into a massive financial hit or a regulatory nightmare.
And you can apply this scrutiny across the board simultaneously.
That's the power of the scalability.
Okay, so that's the what. Let's get into the how. What's the tech actually doing under the hood? What are the key components mentioned in FinCrime intelligence?
So the foundation, the bedrock, is automatic speech recognition, ASR.
ASR.
That's the engine that converts the audio waves into text, the first essential step.
Got it, the translator. But just having the words isn't enough, is it? You need to understand the meaning, the intent, spot the dodgy stuff.
Exactly. That's where natural language processing, or NLP, comes in.
NLP.
NLP takes that raw text from the ASR and analyzes it. It looks at context, sentiment, flags those suspicious keywords or phrases we talked about.
It can even pick up on, weird communication patterns or changes in tone.
Yes, some advanced NLP models can infer things like that, which might warrant a closer look.
Interesting. And the source mentioned speaker diarization, too. That sounds vital for, say, conference calls.
Oh, absolutely vital. Speaker diarization is the tech that figures out who is speaking when in a recording with multiple people.
So separating speaker A from speaker B from speaker C.
Precisely. Without it, you just have a transcript of words, but you don't know who said the critical line. Diarization attributes speech to individuals, which is essential for any investigation.
Yeah, trying to figure out a group call without that would be a nightmare, like a puzzle with missing pieces. Okay, what about global firms? Lots of languages, accents.
Huge challenge. And that's why language and accent adaptability is such a critical feature.
Makes sense.
The best systems are trained on diverse data to accurately transcribe many languages and the accents within them. You need that for global operations.
And speed is often critical in finance. The source brought up real-time transcription. How does that help?
Real-time transcription means the text appears almost instantly as someone speaks.
Wow, okay.
So for compliance, this means potential issues on a live call a trader, an advisor talking to a client, can be flagged immediately. It allows for, potentially, very rapid intervention if needed.
Like an early warning system firing during the actual conversation. And these systems can plug into existing compliance platforms.
Yes, that integration with compliance monitoring platforms is a really big plus.
How so?
It enables automated workflows. So a keyword gets flagged in a transcript and an alert automatically pops up in the compliance team's dashboard, feeding right into their existing risk management process. Seamless.
Okay, this paints a picture of some seriously powerful capabilities.
Ah.
Let's zoom in on the day-to-day impact. What are the real tangible benefits for the compliance and risk teams using this?
Well, the first, most obvious one is enhanced efficiency, just massive time savings.
Instead of listening for hours.
Right? They can review summaries, alerts, search transcripts, analyze way more data in far less time. It frees them up to do the actual investigating part of their job.
Big productivity gain. And accuracy.
How do you-
Better than humans listening and typing.
Generally, yes. Improved accuracy is a major benefit. Good ASR engines, while not perfect, are often more consistent and less prone to fatigue or bias than manual transcription over long periods.
Right.
Reduces human error.
And for the big banks, the global players, scaling this up.
That scalability is key. You can monitor thousands, even millions of interactions daily across different channels simultaneously. Impossible manually.
Just couldn't do it.
Nope.
The source also highlighted audit readiness. Always a big deal in finance. How does voice-to-text help there?
It provides clear, time-stamped, searchable records. When regulators audit, firms can quickly pull up specific calls or interactions, demonstrating their monitoring efforts much more easily and comprehensively.
So it's proof of oversight.
Yeah. Exactly. A robust audit trail.
And underpinning all this seems to be catching things sooner.
Early detection. That's perhaps the most critical benefit from a risk perspective. Spotting potential fraud or misconduct before it escalates saves money, protects reputation, and avoids major regulatory pain.
Okay, the upside is clear. Very compelling. But it can't be all smooth sailing. What are the challenges or things organizations need to watch out for, according to the source?
Well, first, there are still accuracy limitations.
Even with good tech.
Yeah. Things like heavy accents, lots of background noise, or highly technical jargon can still trip up the ASR sometimes. You need to be aware of that. Maybe have some quality checks.
Makes sense. And privacy. You're recording and transcribing potentially sensitive conversations.
Huge consideration. Privacy concerns are paramount. Firms absolutely must comply with regulations like GDPR, CCPA, whatever applies. Robust data security, clear governance policies. It's non-negotiable.
And just plugging this into existing systems is that easy? The source mentioned integration complexity.
It can be complex, yes. Integration complexity means making this tech talk nicely with existing compliance software, IT infrastructure, phone systems, etc. It often requires careful planning and technical know-how.
Not just flicking a switch.
Definitely not. And similar to the accent issue, there are potential language barriers.
Signing.
While many platforms support multiple languages, the performance might not be equally stellar across all of them. So a global firm needs to really vet the solution's capabilities for the specific languages they operate in.
Right. It seems like there's a real balancing act needed.
Yeah.
Effective surveillance versus, employee trust and transparency.
That's crucial. You need strong data governance, clear communication with employees about why this monitoring is happening and how the data is used. Transparency is key for ethical implementation.
Okay, let's look ahead. What does the future hold? Where is this technology going in the context of financial crime, based on the source material?
The future looks really dynamic, mostly thanks to ongoing improvements in AI and machine learning.
So even better accuracy, better understanding.
Exactly. Better accuracy, yes, but also deeper contextual understanding, being able to spot more subtle nuances, more complex patterns that might indicate risk.
The source also mentioned voice biometrics. That sounds advanced.
It is. Voice biometrics integration is about using unique voice characteristics to verify who is actually speaking.
Like a voice fingerprint.
Sort of, yeah. It adds another security layer. Could potentially detect if someone else is trying to impersonate an employee on a call or spot anomalies in speech patterns.
And the reaction time could get even faster.
That's the idea behind real-time compliance interventions.
What does that mean in practice?
Imagine a system flagging a super high-risk phrase during a live call, and it automatically triggers an alert to a supervisor while the call is still happening. Maybe even suggests an intervention.
Wow, truly proactive. And it's not just about voice anymore, is it? It's about connecting the dots.
Correct. The trend is towards cross-channel analysis, bringing together insights from voice calls, emails, chat messages.
A unified view.
Exactly, a more holistic picture of communication to spot risks that might span across different platforms.
Yeah.
You might miss something if you only look at voice in isolation.
So, pulling all this together, it really feels like voice to text is shifting from a nice-to-have tool to a must-have cornerstone of FinCrime prevention.
I think that's the perfect summary. With regulatory pressure rising and criminals getting smarter, this kind of technology is becoming absolutely fundamental for effective risk management in finance.
So we've explored the landscape of voice-to-text solutions, their power in fighting financial crime, guided by voice-to-text solutions, FinCrime intelligence. Clearly huge benefits for compliance teams, but also important hurdles around accuracy, privacy, integration to navigate.
Absolutely, it's a powerful tool set, but one that requires careful implementation.
Which leaves us with a fascinating thought to ponder, doesn't it? As the AI behind these voice surveillance tools gets even more sophisticated, how will that ongoing tension between boosting security in finance and respecting individual privacy play out? Where will that balance land in the coming years?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? It's a really complex ethical and practical challenge that's only going to grow.